Hey everyone! Today we're going to be making Boa Hancock from One Piece. It's a Japanese manga. I think there's an anime series too. Anyway, they got in contact with me and commissioned me to make this Boa Hancock wall art, and I'm going to share the whole process with you, from the digital sculpting through to the final artwork. Now, I've never shared the digital sculpting before because I don't really have a lot of knowledge on what I'm doing. I tend to sort of Google what I want to know as I need to know it. If you have any experience with ZBrush and you're watching this, it's probably going to give you a mild conniption because I don't know what I'm doing and I've learned to do things in a really convoluted and difficult way, and probably the wrong way, and I'm sure there are much easier and much better ways to go about doing all the things I'm doing. But I'm self-taught, so I just do it how I do it, so don't yell at me. This is just how I did the thing. With being self-taught, there's a lot of stuff that I don't understand about how I'm supposed to put things together. So I'm really not the person to ask if you need advice. But there are loads of really great YouTube channels that will tell you everything you need to know, and they present some really helpful stuff. So what I'll do, instead of talking about what I don't know, I'm just going to drop a few links to some channels that are really good, that talk about ZBrush and digital sculpting in general. So I'll leave a link below to those channels because they will help you out so much more than I ever could. Here's the final 3D print that I got. She is printed in SLA resin, which I then sand down and refine. And here you'll see that I've already adjusted her lip line a little bit, and I've also sanded her down. I also will eventually base her in a coat of Tamiya surface spray just to prep her surface for painting. It just makes, everything really smooth so you don't see all the print lines and that sort of thing. All the sculpting is done in 2-part epoxy sculpt, which is an air drying clay. I just buy it on Amazon. And this hair that you're seeing me sculpt, I actually changed this later on. So when I did the first pass, I felt it came out too blocky looking, and I wanted something with a little more movement to it that was going to be more sinuous and snake-like. So I ended up just scrapping this hair. But I used the same creation process. I just did different shapes. And this board that I'm using is from Treckle. This isn't a sponsored video or anything, I just really like Treckle. I pretty much use their panels for everything I do because they're always really great quality. I use a variety of different brushes, but probably my go-to brush for any tiny details like eyeliner wingtips is always going to be the La Cornell 00 liner brush. And I actually have a few different liner brushes in various different sizes, so really the trick is to get a liner brush because you want a nice brush that's going to do a nice line. And the size of it is really, up to personal preference. These are my little pre-mixed paints for this project. Every time I start a new project, I mix more paint than I think I'm going to need because I tend to work in different stages. So I might need to match a color that I painted in stage 1 over in stage 3, if that makes sense. I need to be able to go back and match colors when I redo areas. And then on the next project, I usually use whatever's left over from the past project as a base color for further mixing. So I'll change that color into whatever I next need it to be. So I'm always trying to use up that paint so it doesn't go to waste. I use a variety of different pastels. I have Zucchero, Rembrandt, Sennelier. It just depends on what color I need. Probably my favorite are the Rembrandts, and those are the ones that I use most because I have a full set of those. I seal the layers as I work using Vallejo Mecha Varnish. So after I've done the eyelashes and the eyebrows, I'll add a layer of sealant, and then I'll do the base blushing, and then I'll add another layer of sealant, and then I'll do another layer of color, and so on. All of her details are painted in high flow golden acrylics. And I really like these because I don't have to water them down too much. They run through my airbrush really easily, and they're really pigmented paints. So here's where things get just a little bit weird. Instead of painting the flower background on, I decided I wanted something that was a little more textural and that had a little more dimension. So I ended up making a super thick gold paint mix and then just piped the design on. So what I did was I cut a small rectangle out of a plastic sheet and then just rolled it into a small cone shape to make like a mini piping bag. And then I filled that with my paint mix. The most difficult part was coming up with the right consistency paint to use, because if it's too thin, it just kept drying very flat. And because it's gold paint, I wasn't really able to mix a lot of thickening agents with it because that would compromise the color. So it took me a while to find the right paint with the right consistency for this to work the way I wanted it to. But it was worth it because I think the effect was really nice. I really like how it turned out, and I would definitely do this again on a future project. One of the most iconic things about Boa are her snake earrings. She's a pirate snake empress, super beautiful with long black hair. She's kind of arrogant and a little bit crafty, but a little bit sensitive and vulnerable on the inside. So I wanted to contrast that by giving her a really sassy, crafty kind of expression, but paired against the background of the sensuous, soft gold flowers. The gloss that I use for her eyes and lips is by Tamiya. I really like the Tamiya gloss because it dries down to such a solid, hard, glass-like finish. But it's also water-based, so it makes it very easy to clean out my brushes afterwards, so that is great. If you got through that whole video, thank you so much for watching. I know it's a long one, it just takes a long time to do these projects. And I don't think people will necessarily understand that. There's a whole process that starts right from a sort of a concept sketch that goes into digital sculpting, and then you get an actual print, and then there's a lot of refining of the actual print, and then there's a lot of painting on the print, and then everything else that goes onto the backboard. And it's a whole process, and it just takes quite a long time. This piece is an original. She is a once-off print, so there's no mold or anything like that. So that's it. She is what she is. I hope you enjoyed watching that, and I will hopefully see you back here again for another video. Thanks, guys. Bye.